welcome to the 11th episode of the Book Nook. I'm your host Olivia and for today's episode I'm going to be reviewing the book Family of Liars by Lockhart. So this book is a young adult thriller and it's a prequel to the popular book talk book We Were Liars. We Were Liars is a very popular book on social media. I've been seeing so many good things. I've heard a lot of great stuff about this book, and all my friends have been recommending that book to me. All my friends were talking about it earlier, and they actually spoiled the book for me a little. So I really wanted to read the book We Were Liars since it's been on my TBR list for a long time. But unfortunately, the library didn't have it. They only had Family of Liars. So since I never read the original book, I was a little confused because I wasn't familiar with the family and the characters yet, but I was still able to understand the plot a little. So I would recommend that you read the original book first and then read Family of Liars after so you don't get any spoilers. But this book basically tells the history of the wealthy Sinclair family and the events that happened before We Were Liars. And the story follows Caroline Sinclair and her sisters when they were teenagers. So this book is very mysterious, it's very intriguing. There is a huge plot twist at the climax that I won't spoil, but just keep in mind that Caroline, the narrator, is a liar, so some things that happened from her point of view may not necessarily be true. Basically, Caroline and her sisters Penelope and Elizabeth spend their summer on Beechwood Island. Each sister has their own internal struggles, and these struggles show that the Sinclair family is not as perfect as they seem. You know, from the outside, they look like a perfect family. They look so rich and wealthy and happy, but they are not actually happy because every single person in the family is dealing with their own sort of struggles, and they all have a lot of internal conflict within the family. An example of this is Caroline's drug addiction. She's been addicted to drugs since she was a teenager, since she was very young. I think she started when she was 16. And she is also schizophrenic and a little psychotic because she has frequent hallucinations of her dead sister Rosemary and her dead son Johnny. She keeps seeing them all the time and she thinks that they're haunting her. So yeah, she's seeing things that aren't there and hearing voices that aren't there. Very typical symptom of schizophrenia. It's very concerning. Caroline also meets this guy on the island. She meets a guy named Feth, which is a weird name. I really don't like characters that have weird names. There are a lot of characters in books I've read with really bad names, and this is one of them. I don't know why the author named him Feth. His real name is Lawrence, but his nickname is Feth, which I don't really know. I don't really know why everyone calls him that, but he is a very annoying and arrogant guy. He's just your typical teenage boy. Caroline and Feth start dating, but Penny, Caroline's sister, she betrays Caroline by kissing Caroline's boyfriend to make her own secret crush jealous. So that's already very interesting, their relationship dynamic. Penny's betrayal obviously changes her and Caroline's relationship, and it makes their relationship very strained and very tense. It just creates so much conflict and so much tension that could have been avoided if Penny had just not betrayed Caroline. If Penny just didn't kiss Caroline's boyfriend and not broken girl code, then all these problems would have been avoided. If Penny was loyal and a good sister, then all of these problems would have been avoided. All these conflicts and all of the horrible things that happened at the end could have been avoided, but no, Penny just wanted to backstab her sister, so that's great. And yeah, at the end of the book, Caroline ends up making a foolish, reckless, and stupid decision. Her ethical action goes unpunished. Even though her father finds out about what she did, he literally helps her cover it up so she doesn't get in trouble with the law. I don't know why he decided to help her. That was insane. That was so totally crazy because the whole family just gets involved with this crime and you're gonna deceive the police, you're gonna trick everyone. I don't know why the dad didn't punish his daughter for doing that. He was just like, oh, he was so cool with it. He was like, oh, I guess we're committing crimes now. I guess I'm just gonna have to lie to the police. So the whole family just ends up lying to each other, the police, to everyone on the island, and the readers. So that's why the book is called Family of Liars. It's because or the whole family is, they're just all pathological liars and they cannot tell the truth. So that's great. So the fact that Caroline didn't face any repercussions or punishments for her actions made me very mad. I was so angry after I read it, and the ending of this book was just so unsatisfactory. I wish Caroline actually faced some consequences for what she did, because that would be way more realistic, because in real life you get in trouble if you commit a crime, but not in this book because it's so unrealistic. Caroline literally devises this whole scheme. She creates an elaborate plan to cover up her crime, to lie to the police, and she makes up a fake story that works. She convinces every single person that the story she's telling is true. And she does all this stuff just to cover up her lie, just to cover up her crime and what she actually did. So I don't really understand how she did that. I don't understand how she thought of a whole elaborate plan in 5 minutes. And I don't know how she was able to convince the authorities about that. The police actually believed her. And she's only 17, 16 or 17 in the book. And you're telling me this teenage girl is that smart? You're that smart. Like, first of all, you're crazy enough to commit this crime, but also you're smart enough to cover it up, and you're smart enough to not get in trouble. You're just gonna get away with it? That is insane and crazy, and that is so unrealistic. That never happens in real life, but whatever. That's besides the point. So I think the whole book in general, it was pretty interesting, and I'll admit that having the narrator lie to the readers is a very creative concept, but I still don't like that Caroline was never punished for her crime, because it makes her so unlikable, and it turns her into this antagonist. It turns her into an evil, bad person, and that just rubbed me the wrong way. I feel really weird about the ending, and I'm just very mad about the way Lockhart chose to end this book, because it could have been a lot better, in my opinion. This book had potential, the plot had potential, she could have executed it a lot better though. So overall, I would rate this book a 6 out of 10. I don't know if I would ever read it again, but it was okay. It was decent. You know, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good. So, yeah, I don't know. I obviously don't recommend this book. I don't love this book, even though it was just mediocre, you know. And even though I'm not a big fan of the plot or the characters, I do think the writing itself was very good. I think Lockhart is a very talented writer, and she wrote the book in a way that made me want to read more. Building up suspense until the climax was very effective in keeping me interested in the book. It was very hard to put this book down, I'll admit. Besides the unlikable characters and the ending, the rest of the book wasn't bad at all. I just didn't like the characters. That was the main problem of this book. No characters were actually good, because all the characters have no morals. All the characters have no moral compass, no ethics, no values, no any sense of morality at all. It's just not there. And that really bothered me a lot, because how are you gonna have these characters that don't know how to act right? They don't know the difference between right and wrong. They don't know the difference between good and evil. They just, oh, let's just do whatever you want. Like, you could do whatever. That is my main problem with this book, and the reason why I didn't like this book is just the lack of morals. I think if all the characters had a little more, just a little bit more of a moral compass, then this book would have ended a lot better, and you could have avoided the deaths of some people. You could have avoided a lot of problems if Lockhart just created the characters with some morals. That's all they needed, was some morals. But no, especially Caroline, she has no morals at all, which is very sad. It's very disappointing. But oh well, honestly, I did not relate to any single character. I cannot find a single character I could relate to, a single character that I liked, and I didn't find any character that resonated with me. All the characters were just like bad, objectively bad. There were no really good characters. The characters should have been a lot better. And maybe I would have liked the book more if I had read We Were Liars first, because then I would have understood the characters better. But right now, I did not understand any of the characters. I can't even comprehend how the characters could be that evil. And like, I know what you might be thinking, evil is a strong word, but I'm serious. I don't think it's a strong word. I don't think I'm over exaggerating, because these characters are actually evil. They're heinous. They are despicable and disgusting and vile and cruel. And I don't know how teenagers could be that evil and that morally bad and corrupt. I don't know what happened to them. And Caroline, I don't know what went wrong. I don't know how she turned up like this. I don't know how she became this antagonist and like a villain. I don't know how that happened. I think it's very sad because she seemed like a very nice girl in the beginning, and then she just turns into an evil criminal. So that is unfortunate, but yes, that is all I'm gonna say about that. Anyway, that is the end of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed my review of Family of Liars. If you like this episode, remember to tune in next week for my next episode. I'm your host, Olivia, signing off.